plan today is a longer zone 2 run, low intensity, high volume, and I'm going to do a session I did 20 weeks ago, which was a 12-mile run at zone 2. So that was 20 weeks ago. So within this next training block, and I'll show you what I've been doing, I'm hopefully going to improve my speed whilst staying at the same heart rate. That would be amazing if I could do that. So that is a nice way of assessing and seeing your fitness improve over time, especially for the fact that you can stay at the same heart rate and get faster. So yeah, I'm going to do that zone 2 run today. It's just going to be 12 miles, so just shy of half a marathon. And the only reason I'm doing 12 miles is just to compare the exact same route I did last time when I did it out on the road. I remember feeling it a little bit in my knees. So again, I'll be really, really pleased if the mobility work I've been doing, the stretching work, the band work, has aided and helped with my mechanics on the road. So that's the session for today. And what I'll do, as I say, is I'll drop it in here after the run, and I'll show you the actual 20-week training block for what I've been doing, me personally, to improve that. Everybody's going to be different, but I'm a 95 kilo individual. Running on the road at 95 kilos is not easy, or wasn't easy to start with, especially when I was 105 kilos. So I'll show you that. I'll show you the plan in which I transitioned to get to where I am today, regardless. And obviously you can take what you want and implement what you want from that. But this is the luxury, as well, as a side note, this is the luxury of Hyrox with the event itself, because it's 8 stations with an 8K run. But some people who are potentially lighter athletes, they might struggle with things like the sled push and the sled pull, but because I'm heavier, I can get those done faster, but I'll struggle with the run. Whereas lighter people can go faster on the run. So it just becomes a real big, exciting jigsaw to play with, which is part of the reason for doing it. And obviously you being assessed on the day with your time, and you can see your time, and you can start to train with different variables towards different things, just makes it a bit more fun and a bit more interesting. So anyway, as I say, that's going to be the session for today. Zone 2 run, 12 mile. Let's see what time we get. I think last time it was just over 2 hours. So as I say, fingers crossed for an improvement on speed at the same heart rate. So as we can see, this is sort of my training calendar that I like to use in Excel. So this here on September the 4th, 12 mile was 1:52:54. And then 20 weeks ago, here was 2:04:45 at 138 beats a minute. So that run, the first run was at 138 beats a minute average. The second one was 142. So still both in zone 2, 4 beats out, different, but 12 minutes faster. There's a few things, just a few observations that I've made a note of, which may be useful to yourself in your situation. As you can see, I love to track detail. I love to track quite a few different metrics. It's just a little bit of who I am. But you can easily fall into the trap of just following the data and not actually listening to yourself as the athlete. So hands up, I'll admit I fell into this trap with Garmin Connect body battery, with the Whoop band, measuring your HRV and all those sorts of things. These are great tools and they're really good assets for you, especially from an accountability perspective. But remember that it's you as well. You need to track and measure. Only you know you. So one useful thing that I implement with this as well at the same time, and again, you could argue that it's another metric, but it is actually just a metric of me. Just ask yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in the morning how you feel with your energy. Anything below a 6, start to question it, and just start to question whether you need to have a rest day or pull back versus getting back in the hole and sending it. And you'll only know that from sort of experience and going through these sorts of things. You'll know when you're running and you feel heavy, sluggish and tired. Maybe you haven't had the best night's sleep the night before or 2 days before. But then you'll also know when you go out and you feel really energetic, you feel good. That doesn't mean you have to go and send it for that session, i.e. push yourself even harder over the prescribed session. but you can work a little bit harder within that realm. So that realm of the session. So that's point number one. The metric that you track, as well as all the data and all those sorts of things, is amazing. You are also tracking yourself. So make sure you track that as well, because only you know you. Point number two is going to be what I've just said. Literally, make sure you're tracking some form of data as well. So make sure that you're tracking what food you're eating. Make sure you're tracking your training sessions per week. Make sure you've got a rough idea of if you're getting some good quality sleep, and you'll only sort of know that by looking at what time you go to bed and what you're doing at the night time. So if you've got the TV on, fucking turn it off like 1 hour before to save yourself for the next day, for example. Like little bits, what can you do in your world where you can potentially just turn the screw that little bit? We're just looking for some marginal gains. So tracking of your sleep, tracking of your food, tracking of your training sessions. Like physically, are you pushing heavier weights? Are you resting sufficiently between sets, or are you resting too much between sets? Are you doing the right variables within the week, within your training program, or are you just following what you've always done, which is maybe just strength or just conditioning? So make sure you're tracking your progress and following a plan that accommodates your weaknesses as much as it does compounds your strengths as well. So that's point number two. Point number three, probably my biggest regret: do your homework. Like you can see from here, I've now got a box of goodies, which is physio blocks, Pilates ring, AirX pad, foam roller, bands, balls, like all sorts of stuff. Do your homework. Take advantage of the time at home, because reality is if you spend 10 minutes 3 to 4 times a week, like 10 minutes 3 to 4 times a week, which is nothing, at the end of the day when the kids have gone to bed, or whilst you're watching TV, or just whenever you can in the morning first thing, that makes up to an extra session per week. So that's like a 40 minute session every single week that you're doing alongside of your prescribed training program as well. So all of a sudden, that's like an extra session a week, 4 sessions a month, compound interest. That's going to accumulate over time. So do your homework and stretch, mobilize, activate, do your flexibility, some form of yoga / meditation. That will really, really be powerful and really be useful for when you then step into the gym or training or an event. Point number 4, and this is a bit more specific to the zone 2 work in particular. When you reach a ceiling of time for zone 2, the adaptation for enhancing that aerobic capacity is limited by the time. So again, for me personally, not saying this is how everybody else should do it or approach it, but for me personally, what worked was, rather than increasing the intensity, increasing the volume of working at zone 2. So if you go out for 45 minutes all the time at zone 2, you're obviously limited to that. So can you potentially push to 60 minutes the next time? Can you then potentially push to 75 minutes? And can you potentially push that to weekends as your longer run? But then in the week, there's no harm in you doing 30-minute zone 2 session as well. So in theory, if you're doing a 90-minute session, which is at the weekends, and you do an additional zone 2 within the week, which is half an hour, that's 2 hours a week versus 1 hour if you were just doing 1 hour before. You might have to rewind that. That may sound a little bit complex, but my main point being, when you're working that zone 2 aerobic base, try and broaden the volume. So try and broaden the capacity via increasing the volume versus obviously increasing the intensity. Point number 5, I'm not sure if this is a thing, but this is just what I did. Combine indoor and outdoor training. So when you run outdoors, obviously on the pavement, which is great, and obviously your body's getting used to impact on concrete, which is amazing. There's no harm in you training inside on the treadmill, in my opinion. And there's no harm in using a self-powered treadmill like an Assault or a Curve Runner, because again, in my opinion, that's 3 different stimuluses that your body's got to adapt to whilst doing the same exercise of running. So it's very similar to like a chest press. You've got a chest press machine, you've got dumbbell chest press, and you've got a barbell bench press. It's 3 different types of stimulus for a chest press. The same with running. In my opinion, just experiment with yourself and make a note and observation at the same time of actually doing the session indoor on maybe a self-powered treadmill or a normal treadmill, and outdoor on different surfaces like grass or tarmac. And a bonus one, I just want to throw this in the mix. Track subjective data at the same time as tracking objective data. So yes, the sets, reps, numbers, time, but also in your training log or your journal, if you use your app or wherever, or your note section on your phone, start to gather subjective data. And that means, like, how long were you in the gym for? Were you short on time? What was your stress like before entering the gym or entering your training session? Were you triggered by something at work or outside of work or life? What was your sleep like the night before? Were you heavily caffeinated? Did you have coffee before the gym? What time of day was the training session? Like, that sort of subjective data, the more that you track that sort of stuff over a period of time, will allow for more accuracy for you then to look at the optimal time for you to train for the best ROI. With that, over a period of time, because you're abundantly busy and you've got a shitload going on, if you just figure out, well, I know that at 2 p.m. on Thursdays, after my lunch, whilst I've had a coffee and I've slept the night before really well, that's my optimal point to train, for example, then you can start to track and mold that subjective data over a period of time to best find the time to suit you for your output. There are 5 points and a bonus point for what I did personally to improve my zone 2 aerobic running for 12 miles, which is just shy of half a marathon, and shave 12 minutes off my 12-mile run, therefore breaking 2 hours for 12 miles, getting faster while staying at the same heart rate. Please let me know if you found that useful, and please let me know in the comments if you want any more information or detail around running, cycling, fitness, training, aesthetics, anything. Just put comments below, and I'll do my best to answer a question in video format or just respond to you if you've got any questions. Consider subscribing to see what's working for me right now, which you can potentially maybe put into your training. And also let me know if you do that, and let me know if it works, but also let me know if it doesn't, because then I can try and help navigate next time for how it can help you out. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.